Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Brokerage Pop. It's hard for me to talk, so I got a Jolly Rancher in my mouth.
I thought you said you can move it to the other side so nobody could see it on the
Well,
podcast.
I did. Yeah, they can't see it if it's audio only, but if it's video, guys, I have a Jolly Rancher on this side. But welcome to.
So he stumped me. He said, "I'm going to move it to the other side so nobody sees it on the podcast." And I was like, "Okay, that makes sense to do that." And then he looked at me like, "Matt, it's a podcast."
Yeah, no. Listen, everybody, it's a podcast, guys. Welcome to the Brokerpreneur Podcast. I'm Dr. Ben Spears, the
Jolly.
ambassador. I'm like the Santa Claus of flow. I'm jolly. I live on a
And a
ranch.
rancher.
I live on a ranch with a bunch of reindeer. I'm here with the big guy, as always. Matt Vi, how you doing?
Doing absolutely, positively fantastic, just like always. But I appreciate you. I'm always grateful that you ask.
Dude, I ask because I care,
I love it.
right? And not because I've been in this room with you for the first 6 hours a day already.
What, the two things are completely unrelated.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know how you're doing. I got to turn my levels down. I can already tell I'm talking too loud, yes. So, Matt,
Yeah.
what are we talking about today, man? Bring the heat.
Yep. So, and this is, a lot of what we talk about comes from, our coaching calls or conversations we're having with people or potential new clients we're dealing with, right? And so, we've got a couple of people that we've talked to that have been in the business recently for a really long time, right?
Yep.
And but they haven't really been. They've been a broker for a long time, but haven't been a recruiting broker for a long time. And there really is a difference between the two of those,
Yeah.
right? So for just to have fun with vocabulary, right? We're going
Right.
to get hooked on phonics for a minute here. Well, phonics isn't vocabulary, is it? We're going to get hooked on vocabulary, I guess.
Yeah, we're just...
There's not a better word for it.
I'm going to get stuck on Band-Aid.
Because Band-Aid stuff. I got you. All right. So a broker is someone that is in charge of the office.
Right.
Okay. A recruiting broker is someone that's in charge of the office, but their job is to bring in that profitability from recruiting efforts, right?
Correct.
And then a recruiter is a person that is not the broker, that their job is to just recruit.
Right.
And so whenever we talk to people, sometimes, some of our coaching clients are recruiters, right?
Yep.
Some of our coaching clients are brokers, and then there's broker recruiters in their offices, right?
Yep.
And then some of our clients are broker recruiters, right?
Correct.
And so that's what we're going to dig into today, right? Is if you're a broker recruiter and you're new to it, or you're transitioning and you're trying to just kind of get your head wrapped around what to do and how to do it and to take it more serious, right? You've been a broker for the past 10 years, but now you got to level it up because of everything going on in the market. What is it that you got to do in order to do that? That's what we're going to dig into today.
Perfect. I love it. So, guys, whether you're a broker, a manager, a recruiter, broker recruiter, manor recruiter,
All the other vocabulary that Matt just did.
yeah, all the other things that Matt said, there's no better time than the present to go to prospectboomerang.com. Click that green button, sign up for a free account, and join our real estate recruiting mastermind in our groups. Also, wherever you're listening to this, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button. We absolutely appreciate every single person that listens to us. And we want to make sure that we're bringing that content straight to you and that you get notified every time you we post it. So, Matt.
Yep.
Just like Joe Dirt. I'm new.
I'm new.
I'm new.
Keep the skull, baby. So
Yeah, you guys got to, if you haven't seen it, man, you got to see it.
see the first one,
Yeah, don't watch the second one.
not the ill repute one.
Hard cut off.
Yeah, it is. So, all right. So what we're going to talk about is some things that you kind of have to have going for you if you're gonna recruit. Okay.
Yep.
You don't need all. There's actually 6 of them. There's more than that, but we're really going to dig into 6. What we're actually going to do today is we're going to talk about a few of them, and then in some subsequent podcasts, we'll make sure that we talk about some of the other ones. Okay, but we're going to mention all of them today, so that everybody kind of knows. So the first one, and this is why we're going to kind of break it down a little bit, is the first one is technology, right?
Yeah.
So you're smiling, Ben. Why? Ben's over here cracking up. I'm not even. I didn't say anything funny, I don't think, but he's over here cracking up. You okay, Ben?
Yeah, yeah. You know when you're like, keep the skull, baby. That was funny.
Careful, this is PG rated. PG-13.
Yeah, no. I was like, keep the Jolly Rancher, baby. That's all I can think about.
Well, you almost made me spit my coffee there, Ben.
Yeah, that's sorry. I
Keep the Jolly Rancher, baby.
got, because I had this inside of my mouth and I was just thinking.
Right. Awesome. So we moving forward now?
Yeah, let's
right.
go on. Sorry, I got that off my chest, guys. Thanks for being there for me.
Yeah, I couldn't not let him. I thought he was going to pass out. If somebody's going to pass out here, we need the doctor to be the one that's still not passing out.
Feeling a
right?
little verklempt.
There you go. So tech, right?
Yep.
So it's real easy to get overwhelmed with tech. If you're in a franchise, there is, you got 58 different systems people are pushing on you and all that kind of stuff. If you're not in a franchise, you're going out and figuring it out, and the board office is telling you this, and you're getting ads all the time about all this kind of stuff and everything. And heaven forbid you accidentally press something on Instagram or Facebook, you're going to get covered up with it. Okay.
Yep.
And so you guys are seeing these things all the time. If you've ever typed in, project management or CRM or anything like that, oh my gosh, you're just going to get a million of them.
Yep.
So that's what we want to do today. We want to talk for just a second about a little bit of some of those, right? So there's tons of tools and resources to automate and outsource administrative stuff, right? I mean,
Yep.
so you can go to, you can do it through applications, or you can get, a fractional person that does it, right? You
Yep.
can. There's a lot of things to do. So you're getting hit up with those people on LinkedIn, right? You can go to Upworks to do some of that stuff that you want to, or Odesk or whatever it is these days, right? So all of those things are places that you can go to get that additional kind of support that you need to.
Yeah.
If you go on and you search in LinkedIn and just search accountants or bookkeeping or anything along that line, you're going to get a live person, but they also need to be connected with, and this is why we're bringing up accounting and bookkeeping, because accounting and bookkeeping are two different things, right?
Absolutely.
So there's going to bring up people, but you need to know which software you want them to use, right? So
Yep.
so one of the things that happens is, at some point somebody gets to a size with a brokerage and they're like, okay, I need somebody else to help me handle this. And they have an administrative person that kind of helps them. And typically they take that and they hand it over to an accountant, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's a great plan to a certain point. At some point, you're going to be too busy that you're not going to be able to do that way. And it's going to start impacting people getting paid. Okay.
Yeah.
This is what it has to do with recruiting. Okay. You need to be able to tell people when they're recruiting that they're getting paid as expeditiously as possible, right? Is that a DA that is distribution agreement? I don't know if everyone in the country uses that term or not, but the distribution agreement that gets sent over to the attorney or the title company or whoever it is that's closing it,
Yep.
right? How does that get there? Who fills that out? Who's approving it? Who's handling all of that? When you get to a certain size production-wise, it's going to be hard for you to overdo that.
Yeah.
Or oversee that, especially if you're out there selling every day, right?
Yep.
So you've got to have somebody reliable that's doing that. And a lot of people, like I said, they get their administrative help to do that. But at some point, you need someone that is responsible a different way for that.
Yeah.
And what software they're using is gonna make a difference, right? Are they using they're using QuickBooks or whatever other type of system? And if you, depending on what you're doing from an appointment setting standpoint, right? So not to just get caught up in the bookkeeping part, but whether it's Calendly or Appointly or there's how many other
Yeah.
calendar.
There's something in your CRM that does it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So all of that. And then there's like Slack for communications with your team, right? Are you doing your communications through a Facebook group, right? Or are you doing project management through Monday? You using Google Suite to do all of your email? All of those things are a bunch of different decisions that you have to make, and they impact how efficient you are when you're recruiting. So if I'm telling somebody I'm going to make their life easier, and I have 17 different applications that they have to log into
Yeah.
in order, right? And that's not making their life easier. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, if you have one application that they're logging into and everyone has to log into that, okay, that's absolutely fantastic. And that might get them paid the way that they're supposed to. But then you're locked into that and you don't have some other things that might be available that are going to allow you to expand the way that you want to.
Yeah.
So the key thing here is, having continuity across all of those and knowing ahead of time why you're heading into which type of software that you're heading into it. Don't just get excited about it. Most brokers don't. Excuse me. Most brokers don't. But before you make a decision to add a CRM, before you make a decision to use the CRM that your franchise is telling you, before you make a decision to use QuickBooks instead of Zoho Books or whatever it is, make sure that there's a continuity across all of those, because ultimately when you're sitting down in front of the agent and you're telling them that this is going to make their life easier. If those things aren't talking to each other the way that they're supposed to, the lie is going to come out.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to tell them it's going to be easier, and they're going to come on board. And then the next thing you know, it's not easier for them, and they're going to feel like they were deceived. And then they start looking around at everything else. Okay, what else didn't they tell me? What else wasn't the way that they said that it was going to be?
Yeah. And you typically don't hear those until it's too late.
That's exactly right.
Right. They go home and they're like, listen.
Yeah, I can't believe this crap. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of crap, that kind of takes us to number 2, right?
Yep.
And so this is the one that I'll get some pushback on, right? I say this, and whenever I say this, a lot of people are they I get this is probably the biggest thing I get pushback on, right? You hear people say all the time, sales is a numbers game, right?
Yep.
All right, that's bullshit. That just period. It just wrong. Okay. Sales is a relationship game. Okay. Now the number one rule, the top rule, is numbers. Got to know your numbers, have to know what you're doing, all that kind of stuff. But the game is about the relationship. Yep. Even if you're just selling a flashlight that's indestructible, which you and I joke around about all the time.
Yeah, tactical flashlights everywhere you look.
You have to build some rapport with that person, right? I don't think anybody goes, "Oh, tactical flashlight, buy."
Yeah.
Right? No, you can't. Let me take that back. Yeah, there's somebody that does that, but you can't build your business on that.
Yeah.
Right. So can't your whole
just pay
business,
for shipping and handling.
Right. You can't have that. You can't build your business around that.
Yeah.
So there has to be some development of know, like, and trust. Right. Sometimes it's real short sales process. Sometimes it's a longer sales process. Real estate, it's a very long sales process, both with recruiting and, as we all know, with the other side of it, the life cycle of home ownership. Right. All those things matter, and all those things count. So, because it's a relationship game, and the top rule is that it makes it's really easy as soon as you start recruiting to think that I have to hit my numbers.
Right.
Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so what?
Especially when you're being told to hit your numbers.
Absolutely. Yep. And remember, what's the number one rule? Number one rule is numbers, right?
Yes.
You got to know your numbers. You got to understand your numbers. You got to okay.
And don't talk about Fight Club.
And don't talk about Fight Club, right? I guess that is the number one rule. So what we have to make sure that we're doing is we have to make sure that we stay on task at the right time with what the rules are.
Yep.
Okay. And so absolutely, if you need to make a certain amount of contacts in order to get your goal, you have to do that. Absolutely, if you have to, send a certain amount of text and have a certain amount of, stop into a certain number of open houses or whatever it is that that your plan is. But when you're doing those things, you can never forget it's about the relationship. It's not an indestructible flashlight. You cannot bank the success of your company on coming across that idiot that's just like, "Oh, you're a broker? God, I need to join you today. Where do I sign?" You can't bank your success on that. Okay, so it's not just about, do I run into enough people that hopefully that's the case. There are companies. This is where I typically get in trouble. Okay, so if I go too far on this, we'll have to clip this part out.
It's my favorite part.
Okay. There are companies that focus on it being a numbers game.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You and I both know, because we look at the numbers and we talk to brokers and we have conversation with brokers and like, yeah, so and so is just hiring so many people and everything, and then we say, well, what's their attrition like? And they're like, their attrition is terrible. Right? It's because it's numbers, right? Yep. So, do you want to be in a brokerage that, as a then broker, that if you decide to take a day off, and all of a sudden your numbers and your income and everything is in the tank because you hired so many people based on just numbers instead of relationships, that they're leaving almost as quick as you're bringing them in the front door? That's where that burnout happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
If they're leaving in the middle of the night, same thing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because they don't want to say goodbye. They don't care.
That's exactly, because there's no relationship there.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So number 3 is teamwork makes the dream work, right? So as a recruiting broker, you have to know how to build a team.
Yep.
Okay. So I know all the great sports guys and everything, right? Michael Jordan's coach, what was his name?
Phil Jackson.
Phil Jackson. I always get him and Phil Knight mixed up. Phil Knight's the Nike guy. Phil Jackson's the guy, right? I'll have to write that down somewhere.
Yeah.
So
I'll be here.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
Yeah.
So Phil Jackson, the guy just knew how to. How do you have like Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and
you said Pittman.
I did say Pippen.
Pippen.
That's what I meant, because I started to say Rodman and I got both of them. both of them confused. So I put them, I kind of melded them all into one player.
Scottish Pittman. I get it.
Scottish Pittman, Jordan.
Yeah.
Because they're all just so incredible. That's how they played, right? And so you have to be that guy. You don't have to be an expert basketball player, right? Phil Jackson might have been. I don't know whether he was or not. You don't have to be an excellent basketball player. You have to be able to take those people that are excellent and get them to work as a team. So as a recruiting broker, you have to be spending time on getting better at being a team leader.
Right.
Okay? A lot of people miss that, right? So, okay, how come? Well, if it's just about the numbers, if I just do more numbers, I don't have to be a good leader, right? Refer back to rule number 2. If it's all just about the numbers, screw it if I'm no good at that. If I'm no good at getting them to connect the way they need to connect and them to talk.
I got 20 more coming.
That's exactly right. And if I just make more calls, I don't have to worry about that. I got somebody else coming in, and somebody's going to stick. Okay, bull crap. Right? We refer back to rule number 2. What happens is they end up leaving because you don't have that cohesion. You need to have that. You need to have that cohesion, right?
Yeah. If there's a new batch coming in every month and a new batch going out every month, even the people that you're like, no, they like it here.
Right.
They're noticing that.
Yep.
And that people just follow the trends. They follow the masses. They're just going to say, well, if everybody else is doing it.
Right. That's your culture.
Yeah.
That's your culture.
Yeah.
If it's the agent doesn't matter and they can leave because they're not really connected, that becomes your culture.
Yeah.
Right?
That's almost like difficult come, easy go.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep. So that means we gotta make the teamwork makes the dream work, right? We got to make sure that we know how to be a better leader. So how are you being a better leader? Who are you connected with? What are you listening to? What books are you reading? What conversations are you having? Who are you surrounding yourself with? All those things are going to matter whenever it comes to being a better leader, right?
Yep.
And so the other 3 really quick, right? Because we said we would we said we'd go over the first 3 and everything, but well, before I move on to those, let me say this. So when you're talking to people on your team, how do you rate them? Right? What conversations do you have with them to determine whether or not they're a good team member and how well do they fit your team, right? Because what's the easy solution? Everybody says, go take a personality test, right?
Yeah.
That's such an overall stupid solution,
Yeah.
right? It is effective. Yes, it has its place. That's not what we're saying, okay?
Yeah, we like personality tests.
Absolutely. And regardless of which one you like to take, taking any of them is better than not doing any of them. Right?
Yes.
Right. Any is better than none. But who fits into your culture, big picture? Who is it that you lead easiest? Are you a really competitive person and find it hard to lead people that aren't competitive?
Right.
Well, don't you think you need to know that? That doesn't mean that you can't hire them. That means you got to have somebody else in your team because you're leading. Find somebody else in your team that actually melds or meshes better with those people. Right. That's what we want to make sure we're doing.
Yeah. You'll miss out. Excuse me. You'll miss out on a lot of good agents if everybody has to be competitive.
Yep.
And there will be a lot of head butting.
Yep.
Inside that office if there's not somebody that's like, it's okay, guys.
Yep.
Chill out.
Yep. I figured out very early on in my career, when, there were so many offices that people were like, oh, that's just such a cutthroat office. That's such a cutthroat office. And there were a few that were that way. There weren't really many.
Yeah.
The difference was they were really competitive. Mm-hmm. And some were cutthroat. Don't get me wrong. They'll steal your client. I knew people that would follow clients out in the parking lot and hand out cards, right? I knew agents that would do
Right.
stuff like that, right? So, but big picture, most of them, it was just an ultra competitive environment.
Yep.
And because it was so competitive, everybody was like, they were basically saying, I don't feel like going in there competing. And because those people are aggressive about their business, that makes it cutthroat. And the truth is, that's most of the times I just don't think that's the case, right?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I worked with some agents, and I'm extremely competitive. So when I was practicing real estate, whatever you want to call it, I would go in every Monday morning and I would print out where I was inside my office, mm-hmm. right? And I would just look at those numbers because I wanted to be like the top agent in the office, mm-hmm. and I work with some other people like, man, you're having a lot of success. What's going on? And I got to a point where I was like, I'm going to print out, I'm going to print out a couple of these. I'm going to hand them out. And then I'd hand them to an agent. And they'd be like, I don't care.
Right.
I'd be like, I can't help you.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah. But eventually in that office, a few of them who said like, I don't care. You
start. Yeah.
Yeah. You could tell that they're like, they'd come and they're like, where do you print that thing out?
Yep.
You know that thing you printed out? Where did you find that?
Right.
And,
yeah.
but it was always friendly.
Right.
Friendly competition. There was nothing cutthroat there. And I really feel like, you could see, and this is completely off topic, more like a Broker's Open podcast conversation.
Right.
You could see their production go up. And I don't think it's because they were being more competitive, but that they were starting to track things.
Measure. Yeah.
Right. They could measure and they'd say, whoa, like, I see what I did last year. I'm behind or I'm ahead or whatever.
Yeah. And if you're, and we won't get too far off in this, right? But if you're looking at what you're doing and you're looking at what someone else is doing and someone else is doing better, it's easy for you to go, okay, what are they doing?
Yeah.
But if you're not looking at how you're doing compared to them, you know what you're not going to do? You're not going to care what they're doing.
Exactly.
You're not going to, and you're certainly not going to give it any validation.
Right.
You're not going to say, oh yeah, well, Ben's doing this and he beat me 6 weeks in a row on top agent of the week and he's doing more open houses than me. Maybe there's something to that. But if you're not measuring that, you're going to go, oh man, Ben sucks, right? Ben's winning, right? He got lucky. Yeah. He's got all those stupid signs all over the office all the time. Yeah. Right? That's if you're not measuring
doing a podcast. Radio show.
Right. That's what they all said.
Go do your radio show.
All right, well, I kick your ass. Business. So we started to say this just a second ago. So what do you rate these people on that are in the office, right? That are part of your team to make sure that you're leading them the right way, but also kind of getting everybody moving in the same direction. Right? Are they goal-minded people? Right? That's something to look at. Right? What's their social intelligence? Right? Do they have a higher social intelligence? That's going to make a difference. Are they dependable? Right? Yeah. You're gonna find it really hard to see people that are extremely productive in their business, and see that and find them that aren't dependable, that aren't reliable, and aren't doing what they say they're going to do. Now, here's what happens. A lot of times you'll see people and you're like, oh yeah, he never does what he says he's going to do. He never whatever it is. What they're actually doing is they're prioritizing it. They're not getting things done that are not the most important things for them to get done that are actually impacting their production.
Right.
Right. So those things matter. How good at communication are they? Right. Are they motivated? Collaborative minded? The list can go on and on and on and on. Right. But the bottom line is, you as the recruiting manager have to be looking at those things. As the leader in the office, you have to be looking at metrics, even if there's just 2 of them. Look around your office. Are my people goal-minded? Are my people, do they have integrity? Right? If that's the 2 things that matter the most to you, look at them and see if they're that way. And then as you start to build relationships with other people, you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of the first 3. The second 3, we'll talk about these for just a second, and then we'll go through it for an action item. Okay. So the fourth one is, expect the best but plan for the worst when it comes to your business. Right. Yep. You just have to do that. The 5th one is a culture of growth is created through consistent value delivery. Right. You just constantly over and over have to be delivering value as that recruiting manager, as that leader. If you're not doing that, you're just not going to have that growth-minded mindset. And then what's going to happen is you're going to want to grow, and you're going to tell people you're going to grow, and you're going to have shit in the wall that says, "I want to grow."
Yeah.
But nobody's going to feel it. That's not the vibe that you're going to. That's not the vibe that you're going to have, right? And then never forget that your customer's a customer. I'm going to say one thing on this one because this one always bothered me. I don't remember where I heard this originally. Right? Young, I heard, the customer's always right. Okay. Yeah. And then I bumped into somebody. It was probably Hank Stanfield, my shop teacher. I've told you about him before. The dude was just brilliant, right? And but I can see him saying, "Well, Matt, customer's not always right, but the customer's always the customer."
Yeah.
Just because you have to value what they say, just because you have to pay attention to what they say, doesn't mean that they're right, or doesn't mean you need to shift and change everything that you need to do. But you have to respect the fact that they're still the customer.
Yeah.
That's the same with recruits.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to love and understand and believe everything that every recruit tells you. Now, there's fundamental things that matter to you that are your values that there just has to be an alignment on, but they don't have to do everything the same way that you do, right?
Yeah.
Customer is always the customer, but that doesn't mean that they're always right. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you have an action item for us.
I do.
Before we get to that, as always, my quote of the podcast so far.
All right.
Speaking of crap, that leads us to number 2. That's my quote of the podcast.
I love it. I don't think I said crap though.
You did it.
Did I?
It's recorded.
I thought I said bullshit.
Well, that did come later on.
Right. Okay.
But guys, wherever you listen to this, whether it be iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, any of those platforms, make sure you hit that follow button. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that red subscribe button, that bell right beside of it. Get notified every time we drop a new episode. There's no better place to watch all of these than prospectboomerang.com. While you're there, join our VIP list. We'll send you monthly recruiting tips, tricks, and hacks straight to your inbox. This Jolly Rancher is still there. 26 minutes in, guys. This is like the never-ending. It's like a Willy Wonka Jolly Rancher. So Matt, we've started this thing, for some of our clients, where at the end of each podcast, after the action item, we do 2 minutes just for them to go into our clients group. We're going to talk about that, but let's go into the action item first.
Yep. Yeah. So let me give a little bit of background on that so that people know what to kind of expect. But we're gonna do a wrap up, and the reason why is because it's coming up in the coaching calls, right? People are saying, "Hey, Matt, you talked about this. I could have used a little bit more about that, right? Or I would have." And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that we give that extra little bit of value to our clients, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so there'll be a couple of minute wrap up, and that wrap up we're going to talk specifically about what it is that the fast track wrap up. We're going to talk a little bit about what tools we used and why we made the decisions on those tools. Right.
Yep.
Okay. So here's what I would do though. So. As far as an action item goes, talk to some brokers that right? You should know some other brokers. If you don't, you need to get your butt out there and go meet people and talk to them and connect, whether it's inside your franchise group, whether it's inside your franchise itself, whether it's outside your franchise and other independents, whether it's brokers and, the broker council that you're on, right? Wherever it is, go meet some other people, have a cup of coffee with them and ask them, what are the 5 pieces of software that you use that really positively impact how efficient you are running your business, right?
Yep.
So I think that would be a good action item. You're going to be surprised that some are the same.
Yep, absolutely.
Some are different, and some of the people you talk to aren't going to have any idea.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly right.
So all that's going to matter.
Yeah. Before we go into that wrap up, let's let everybody know, why we do these podcasts and why we bring the heat. We'll talk about those other 3 on another podcast.
Yeah, of course.
We do that for one reason alone. Dr. Matt.
We just want to be part of their win.
See you guys.
See you.